So I came home tonight from watching Tarot. Okay, it's a PG-13 movie, so I got to be delicate with this one. Got to be delicate with this one. I thought it was all right. It wasn't scary, again, but that's because I'm a horror fan and it takes a lot to hit me hard or traumatize me or whatever. This movie did none of that. I have to admit, I do have to admit, the visuals were good. The camera work was very good. The acting was very good. But it was very, in my opinion, quite cliched. It had all the right tropes. Now, you got to give Sony credit, the company that released this film. At least they didn't go the route of another Ouija board movie, because Ouija boards, they've done so many of those that it's ridiculous. What does this movie follow? It follows a group of college kids that rented out a home for, some house in the middle of nowhere in upstate New York somewhere. And they come across, accidentally, a box. And in the box is a stack of tarot cards. And it happens that one of the students, this girl, she's really good at tarot readings, and she's also good at horoscopes. So apparently there's this way to, and I didn't know this, there's a way to intermingle the two, horoscope readings, and intermingle them with tarot readings. And she did that with her friends. When they got back home the next day, they slowly, one by one, started experiencing these gruesome, terrible deaths, right? And again, this is non-spoiler. I haven't really revealed anything that the trailers haven't already shown. I can tell you that they go through a struggle of trying to how to kind of like reverse the curse that was put on them, because of these readings. And it had to do with who they were in the horoscope. If you're a Taurus, you're like this. If you're a whatever, you're a Libra, you're like that, whatever. And though I do not subscribe to these practices, nonetheless, it was a very entertaining and good story. However, again, I don't think this is a movie I would necessarily watch again. I kind of put it in the same line as some of the other films I've watched earlier this year, like like Sting or Night Swim. It's kind of like along that same level, and those movies were alright too, but I wasn't necessarily like blown away by what I saw. There were some good practical effects. There were some cool kill scenes. Couple of them. Some were kind of whack. A couple of them were kind of good. There's one I found kind of good. Again, the characters were great. There was one particular character that everybody thought was their favorite and stuff like that. If you see the movie, you'll know who it is. And then there's another one, in my opinion, was such a useless dude. I was like, he's one of the guys. He's useless. Useless. I'm like, why are you here? Go home. Go home. Sit down. Go study for your test. You said something about studying for your test. Go study for your test. Another thing I wanted to mention about this movie is that one trope it has that kind of like annoyed me a bit was the whole, and some ghosts, some ghost stories or spirit movies have this trope where there was an original antagonistic spirit that started the whole mess, and how they're restless and they need to be redeemed or something, so there's a little bit of that in this movie. It's related directly to the tarot cards that they find in the house and stuff like that. It's connected to some woman who dabbled in this stuff centuries ago or whatever, and she didn't die a pleasant death, and apparently she's somehow connected to it. So there's this kind of way of trying to undo what she did, and it's supposed to have some kind of redeeming element to it, but kind of bothered me a little. I was like, oh God, I've seen this so many times before in ghost stories. And, in a basic ghost story, not something like this. But, I was like, oh, okay, fine. I just want to put that out there. One of those movies that definitely cater to a younger audience. definitely cater to a young audience. Like if you're a young person in high school or in early college or in college or whatever, and there's a group of you that, hey, let's go to the movies and go see a scary movie. I would recommend this one. Yeah, have a good time with it. Just go in there not expecting much. I didn't. I didn't expect much, and I didn't get much. It was just a good, entertaining movie. I didn't necessarily found it to be a waste of my time. I've seen far worse, but at the same time, it's not a movie I would necessarily consider to be one of the best for 2024 for this year, particularly. And that's just my opinion only. Again, make of it what you will. You don't have to necessarily be in tune with it. The movie kind of like narrates, the characters kind of like narrate what's going on for you. They kind of lead you through it with what they're going through. So it helps because there's some parts where like, I don't understand. And so they kind of help you with that. So that's kind of helpful. I don't think they necessarily take you by the hand with it, but I actually did think that that was okay. Again, the acting was good. I can give them that. But again, it didn't leave me jumping out of my seat begging for more. A little too long, too, in my opinion. I thought it was a little drawn out. So I'm going to give Taro 2 coffee cups. Not because it was bad, necessarily, but because it was underwhelming. I found it underwhelming. Like, okay, the creatures. There were, these creatures manifested themselves. You see it in the preview. A couple of them, and I was like, oh, that's nice. It wasn't. I didn't care. Like, oh, look, there was this creepy gesture-looking thing. Oh, here's the creepy monster-looking thing. And here's the creepy demon-looking thing, and I'm like, okay. Anything else? No, that's it. Appreciate your time. So I appreciate your time. Did you see Taro already? What do you think about it? Talk to me. Let me know. Comment below. Let me know what you think of this latest horror movie to come out in cinemas this year in 2024 with so many more. Right? We've barely scratched the surface here. We're only in the 5th month of the year. See what happens in the next few months. There's more to come. I'm looking forward to it. So if you like what you see here, please consider subscribing. Tap on that bell for future notifications, for future Horror and Coffee content. And again, appreciate your time. Thank you very much. Listen, just for the sake of argument, I would say this for a Ouija board movie, and I would say, don't mess with him. Don't mess with him, you don't get problems. But then again, you wouldn't have a scary movie if you didn't mess with him, right? It'd be a real quick film. Cut the credits real fast. All right, enjoy the flick, and let me know what you think. This is Ralph Perez, Horror and Coffee. Take care.